Carlos Alcaraz vs Jannik Sinner, who had the better season in 2024? The rivalry between Carlos Alcaraz and Jannik Sinner looks set to maintain its intensity and carryover from 2024, with the new season approaching. Even though Sinner claimed the ATP year-end No. 1 honors, Alcaraz trumped the Italian to establish a lead in the pair's head-to-head series. The Spaniard overcame Sinner for a 3-0 lead this year for a 6-4 overall lead. There was no catching Sinner midway through the season after his win in Halle, his first as the newly crowned ATP World No. 1. The 21-year-old, Alcaraz, was the first between the two to claim the year-end No. 1 position in the 2022 season. The Italian took over the position from Novak Djokovic while the French Open was underway. Alcaraz was not without a personal milestone in 2024. On winning the French Open, the Spaniard became the youngest player, 21 years and 35 days, to win men's singles titles at 3 different Grand Slam events. Let's take a look at who between Carlos Alcaraz and Jannik Sinner had the better 2024 season. While Sinner was a steady performer in 2024 and calmly collected a tour-leading 73 wins, Alcaraz ended the season with 54 wins, nearly 20 adrift of the Italian. Following his successful title defense at Wimbledon, the Spaniard fell in the second round of the US Open. Sinner's longest win streak in 2024 extended to 16 matches. He repeated the feat twice. The first began at Melbourne in January, where he won his maiden Grand Slam all the way to the Indian Wells Masters semi-finals, where he lost to Carlos Alcaraz. The second haul of 16 wins began at the Cincinnati Masters in August, including the US Open, lasting until the Beijing Open semi-finals in September, a run once again broken by Alcaraz. For Alcaraz, the longest win streak of 2024 was 12 matches long, beginning from Wimbledon and ending with the gold medal round loss to Novak Djokovic at the Paris Olympics. A potentially longer streak was interrupted by Jack Draper at Queen's. If Alcaraz had prevailed, he may have continued uninterrupted, beginning with his Roland Garros title run. Until he lost to Draper, the Spaniard had won 8 matches. Jannik Sinner had an unsurmountable lead over Carlos Alcaraz by the start of the ATP Finals, year-ending event. The final ATP points tally was 11,830 for Sinner, while Alcaraz ended up with 7,915 points. In fact, Sinner is only the 8th man in the history of the sport to have garnered over 10,000 points in a single season. The 2 Grand Slam wins plus the 3 ATP Masters titles contributed a significant 7,000 points towards the Italian's haul. Winning the ATP Finals undefeated fetched another 1,500 points. In the case of Alcaraz, he was awarded 5,000 ATP points for his Grand Slam titles and his ATP Masters victory. By the end of the season, Sinner enjoyed a nearly 4,000-point lead over his Spanish rival. It was sufficient to make Sinner the first Italian to finish the season as No. 1. Jannik Sinner earned a tour-leading 73 wins this season for only 6 losses. The only other player having lost fewer than 10 matches in 2024 is Novak Djokovic. But the Serb played only 37 matches this year, about half of what Sinner did. The world No. 1 edges Alcaraz in match wins, with the Spaniard having won 54 and losing 13. In terms of percentage, Sinner has won 92% of his matches, while for Alcaraz, the winning percentage stands at 80.6%. Alcaraz and Sinner dominated the Grand Slam stage, winning 2 each. Sinner set the ball rolling by winning the Australian Open and bookending it by claiming the final major of the season, the US Open. Alcaraz claimed the Channel Slam, a rare French Open Wimbledon double in 2024. Though he stitched up a title run at Beijing, it fell short of giving Alcaraz the coveted year-ending No. 1 position for the second time. Winning the Indian Wells Masters trophy for the second time in a row was a part of his 4 titles this season, as well as his first of 2024. Sinner was relentless in the 2024 season, an outstanding run that gave the Italian 8 tour-level titles by the time the curtains came down. He achieved the rare feat of winning the Grand Slams in Melbourne and New York and the ATP Finals in the same year. This makes him only the 3rd male player in the Open era to achieve the feat after Roger Federer, 2004, 2006-2007, and Novak Djokovic, 2015, 2023. The 23-year-old Italian also added 3 ATP 1000s to his trophy cabinet: Miami, Cincinnati, and Shanghai. Finally, it was Sinner, 8, who stood tall, having double the titles of Alcaraz, 4. It is the Spaniard who enjoys an unbeaten record in finals in 2024, having won all ATP-level finals. The dominance of Jannik Sinner and Carlos Alcaraz left little room for other players to have their moment in the sun, with the duo sharing the Grand Slams equally between them. Sinner, with 9 title round appearances, has reached more finals than Alcaraz, who made it to 5, including the Paris Olympic singles event. In a season that was all theirs, Sinner and Alcaraz set personal milestones as well as broke records in the sport. Sinner became the first Italian to reach the ATP No. 1 position. Alcaraz, by winning the French Open and Wimbledon in 2024, became only the third man since 1980 to achieve the feat after Federer, Nadal and Djokovic. The Spaniard is also the youngest player to complete the Channel Slam at 21 years of age. Coming to the top 10 wins in the 2024 season, Sinner leads Alcaraz with 18-12 by Alcaraz against 5 losses each to players in the top 10. When playing each other, the Spaniard controlled the narrative by winning all 3 matches played against Sinner in 2024. Along with the Italian, Alcaraz defeated Alexander Zverev and Daniil Medvedev en route to his first title of the season at the Indian Wells Masters. Again in Roland Garros, Alcaraz defeated Stefanos Tsitsipas, Jannik Sinner and Alexander Zverev in the business end of the tournament for his first French Open trophy. Sinner claimed the Australian Open title in January with back-to-back wins against the top 10, beginning with Andrei Rublev in the quarter-finals. The Italian denied Djokovic a chance at the title in the semis before defeating Daniil Medvedev, the 20,221 champion, in the title round. The world No. 1 continued his wins against the top 10 by defeating Medvedev in Miami, Holger Rune in Monte Carlo, and Hubert Hurkacz in Halle. Joining the list of the vanquished were Andrei Rublev and Alexander Zverev in Cincinnati. It was during his unbeaten run in Turin that he defeated 4 top 5 players for his first ATP Finals title. Starting with Alex de Minaur, the Italian made short work of Daniil Medvedev, Casper Ruud and Taylor Fritz to win the year-ending event on debut.